Weaver's troubles with the U.S. federal government began when he attended several meetings of the Aryan Nations, a white supremacist group, at its compound in Hayden Lake, Idaho, in the late 1980s. Both Randy and Vicky were interviewed by the FBI in 1985, with Randy denying membership in the group, citing profound theological differences. Indeed, the Weavers, who had some points of agreement with the Aryan Nations, primarily about the importance of the Old Testament, mostly saw their affiliation with the Aryan Nations as a social outlet. Living off-grid, the nearby members of the Aryan Nations were neighbors. Weaver was not a member of the Aryan Nations, but he shared the group's white supremacist and anti-government views. At one of the meetings, Weaver befriended an informant of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco and Firearms, ATF, who purchased 2 illegal sawed-off shotguns from Weaver in October 1989. When Weaver refused to become an informant for the ATF, federal agents pursued a weapons charge against him. He was arrested and released with a trial set for February 19, 1991. The trial was then moved to February 20, but a probation officer sent a letter to Weaver, incorrectly stating that the new trial date was March 20. When Weaver failed to appear for trial, the court issued a bench warrant for his arrest. Weaver was subsequently indicted by a federal grand jury for failing to appear at trial, and the U.S. Marshal Service was tasked with arresting him. On August 21, 1992, the situation turned violent after Weaver's dog discovered a surveillance team of 6 heavily armed U.S. Marshals inside the Ruby Ridge property. One of them shot and killed the dog, which led to an exchange of fire with Sammy Weaver, who was shot on the back and killed. Harris also opened fire, killing Deegan. The Weavers claimed that the camouflage marshals fired first and refused to identify themselves. The marshals claimed that when they rose to identify themselves, they were fired on by Sammy Weaver and Kevin Harris. In yet another version of events, marshals shot the Weavers' dog Striker as he exposed their position and were fired upon by Sammy in retaliation. Once the shooting began, Randy Weaver's son, Sammy, was shot on the back by marshals immediately after yelling, "I'm coming, Dad," as he ran back to the house. That is to say, he was fleeing the scene, not regrouping for another attack. Sniper and observer teams were deployed by the hostage rescue team. A sniper aimed for an instant kill shot on Randy, but Randy moved at the last minute and the shot entered his shoulder, exiting through his armpit. He then fled back to the house from the shed where he had been viewing the body of his dead son. A second shot missed Kevin Harris and hit Vicky in the head, who was holding their 10-month-old daughter at the time in her arms, a powerful image often invoked in the telling of the story. This same second shot hit Harris after exiting Vicky. An internal investigation found that the second shot was out of policy, and that the failure to request surrender was inexcusable. FBI sniper Lan Horiuchi fired through a door without seeing who was on the other side of it, at people who were fleeing and posed no threat. He was later charged with manslaughter in these deaths, but the charges were dropped. The standoff lasted 10 days, and involved between 350 and 400 agents who coolly named their camp Vicky. They would routinely call out Vicky, "We have blueberry pancakes," but claimed to not know that she was it. Supporters of the Weavers and opponents of the ATF and FBI formed a vigil. Weaver's commanding officer from Vietnam, James Bogridge, who was currently running for president on the Populist Party ticket, acted as a mediator between the family and government agents. Radio broadcaster Paul Hybee intervened, offering to pay for a robust defense for Weaver if he surrendered. This was what led Weaver to abandon the standoff and surrender himself to federal authorities.